Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. I regret to report that both our Jedi Order and the Republic have fallen, with the dark shadow of the Empire rising to take their place. This message is a warning and a reminder for any surviving Jedi. Trust in the Force.
They've outgrown their age of rebellion, dulled the Empire's edge, defeated Imperial generals and the Pirate Queen's dredge. They've been soldiers and scoundrels, what's there left to be? How about lost acolytes looking for their force and destiny? There's a seer, hermit, investigator, and teacher. Better watch your back or a vibe or ring's gonna reach you. Will this team find the light or will darkness win the day? Find out with the heroes of the Hydian Way.
Previously on Heroes of the Hydian Way. Deep within the seas of Dak, Kesh, Skip, Hillary, and Koba were welcomed by CMTR-14 to a Jedi facility after fleeing Imperial Inquisitor Carl. As their time passed in the shadows, they rested, healed, and experienced the Force through visions. Seeing things that had passed and things that may yet be coming, their path formed before them. They must complete their journey, and it was time for them to find the tools they would need. Crystals were collected, and weapons were forged after the lightsabers of old. Now they're armed. But preparations continue, and one question looms. What's the plan? Find out this week with a Portentous interview.
Welcome to Heroes of the Hydian Way. This is a Star Wars actual play podcast, and we're playing in Fantasy Flight Games' Force and Destiny system, using an adventure inspired by Chronicles of the Gatekeeper, as developed by Tim Cox and Max Brook. And I'm Ben, the GM for this adventure.
I'm Kesh, a seer and Neiman disciple, and when I was a little Trandoshan, my best friend was a stuffed bantha, about as big as I was then, that I named Fangzy. And no, I didn't know that banthas were herbivores back then.
I didn't really have any friends when I was growing up.
That doesn't surprise me.
I'm Koba, the Sentinel investigator, and she an expert. And I don't know, I guess I had a few acquaintances growing up. I don't know if I call them friends. Got into a bit of trouble. There's a whole thing. I had a whole adventure as a teenager with, like, mystery and intrigue and stuff.
That's it? I mean, the music barely got started, Koba.
They're all in jail now.
Oh.
At least you didn't eat them.
No. We don't eat each other.
Well, I'm Skip, the Kalaran Seeker Hermit. See, I haven't changed. Everyone keeps changing the things they are. And I'm still the same. It's maybe I should work on that. Anyway, I kind of also had a friend when I was a kid. I couldn't afford anything that was, stuffed or anything. So I went out in the woods and I made myself a little friend out of sticks, and I kind of wrapped some viney things around it and turned it into a little, kind of stick people thing. Anyway, I named him Chokeberry, and we went on some adventures too, but none of us are in jail. This isn't a jail, right?
I hope not.
But I did end up eating him, yeah, so.
Oh.
I was really hungry, and I was curious if the bark had any nutritional value.
Did it?
I think a little. I'm not dead. Okay. I'm not dead, I don't think. We're not dead, are we?
That I cannot speak to.
That'd explain a lot.
And hello, I'm Hillary, and I am the Consular Sagely teacher. Don't think I've changed mine much, but I'm no expert or disciple. And when I was young, I have to say I probably spent the most time with my cousin Kalain. Kalain was a little older than me and had picked up this strange passion for throwing spears. What we figured, though, was if we could throw spears into a soft yet firm surface, I could then do a sort of acrobatic display upon them. But it couldn't be planned because Kalain would not throw them in the same locations. Now this was a great and wonderful show for several months. And then we added fire, and my father said we were never allowed to do it again. But the beauty of most space stations is that they're largely made of metal, and it's difficult to set one on fire without actual accelerants.
That's very fortunate.
I mean, the proprietor was not impressed with our explanations, but, some people are just no fun.
So that was basically the start of your circus career.
Well, since I was born into the circus, it was...
Oh, more of a continuation.
It was a springboard, we'll say, to vault me into the upper echelons of performances.
Gotcha.
You know what they say, born into the circus, die in the circus.
Funny story. No, let's not. No, never mind.
I don't think they say that.
They do.
I think they do.
They do. It's a thing.
Who's they?
Often circus performers, going to be honest.
Definitely at least half of the clowns that I interviewed during this one investigation were an acrobat. An acrobat family, in fact, had mostly been killed. One of the boys was still okay. It was some kind of organized crime thing.
Yeah, you do get that with some of the traveling groups, but not us. Above board, mostly.
This
Kalain
wealthy
did
industrialist, he took the
spend
boy in.
time.
I always got the feeling he was up to something, but I could never quite put together one.
I think I read about that story in the Hollow News.
Yes, and then they made it a live-action Hollow, and they over-dramatized everything, and there was murder and chaos, and blah, 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 blah.
To learn more about our heroes, we get one to ask another question. And it is now Kesh's turn.
So, Hillary, if we've all been adopted into your family, then what are our roles? Am I the grandmother, or...
Does Trade-Oceans do a lot of grandparent adopting, Kesh?
Well, no, but I mean, Hillary has said we're extensions of the family, and I'm just curious, what are you? Are you like the cranky uncle? What are our roles?
I think, are we including different generations within the concept of family, or are we all trying to parse out by age? We could say that Skip is the child.
No,
it's your choice, Hillary. This is completely up to your interpretation.
Okay, so presuming I have adopted you into my full family, which means that my full family is brought into the picture. Honestly, Skip is the wayward, mysterious uncle that everybody loves, but nobody really knows what he does. Just have that jolly, avuncular kind of vibe. Koba is clearly the unsuitable uncle who tends toward dark conversations at dinner table and gets hushed a lot, but at the same time has a strange attraction to the little ones who want to hear the stories they're not supposed to hear. Also can teach practical yet dangerous things, both of you. Now, let's see. Kesh.
Yes.
Kesh. What is Kesh? Have you ever met one of those of the older persuasion who tends towards sitting on porches and yelling at folk?
That actually sounds a lot like my parents.
So I feel like you might fall into that because you don't really seek company, and at the same time you don't really, I feel, attract company the same way Koba does with the mysterious.
I understand. Don't worry. Unlike my parents, I won't keep a blaster rifle beside me.
No, you'll have a lightsaber. That's so much better.
Well, yeah. I mean, I actually have to get up to go use it. Whereas my father would just take the rifle and occasionally shoot at things.
Well, how about we clarify then? You just have the Force.
Right.
But
bring them
I
to me.
promise you, probably the littlest ones would be very interested in you. Mostly as a jungle gym.
No. That seems appropriate.
It gets busy, but it's lots of fun.
Our destiny pool currently sits at 2 light side points and 4 dark side points, which I think is where we started.
Yep.
No matter how much I try.
I know, we just keep spending them back. How dare we?
We're just not very frugal.
The camera starts off with essentially a still hollow of the 4 heroes standing around, lightsabers drawn and on, everyone showing off the lightsaber that they built. It focuses in on Koba with the guard Shoto and the crossguard hilt, and then over to Kesh with the lightsaber setup that Kesh has, Skip with the lightsaber axe, and Hillary with the little light foil with the Portentous hilt. It gives a close look at each of our 4 heroes, and then things start to fade a little bit, and the light changes. It looks like a little bit of time has passed on. As the camera starts, it moves from the location with all of this lightsaber equipment and maintenance and tools and whatnot, and heads back through the caves past the meditation enclave and comes out to where the main common area is for the substation. It looks around. From one of the storerooms, the FX droid wheels itself out, having a large sealed package that it has in 2 of its manipulators as it starts making its way to the infirmary. It looks like it's a vacuum-sealed blister. The blister itself has a darkish oil to it. On the side, it says in fairly large Arabic lettering, limb replacement, dexterous. And it rolls and is following the in-floor track lighting and just rolls down where the walkway is, gets to the T intersection without even rotating at all. It just starts moving in the leftwards direction for it, getting to the infirmary, and then starts moving forward as the wheels that it has makes it so that it doesn't have to turn at all for maneuvering around. The question I've got is, with a little bit of time to do their own thing, what would the 4 of you try and get up to? Now that you're not really feeling a huge call?
I think Hillary would be trying to make an effort to keep tabs on everyone. Since, we're all pretty well beaten up. You'd want to make sure that, yes, we're taking it easy, but also that we're paying attention to what the med droids say, being prudent, not overdoing it. And in between times, I think he's spending a lot of time in his own little bunk. If the camera kind of peeks in, he's got his little holo recorder and he's watching, clips of the family, watching a letter from Alicia, just kind of quietly missing his family while trying to take care of this one.
Brandon and Ren, if either of you have anything to add, I think when we do cash, that'll lead organically into the holocron.
Depending on when the hand is available from the droid, Koba will probably spend some time sort of trying to get used to it. If we're talking about prior to that, likely sort of testing out the new lightsabers, trying them against a training dummy or whatever, just sort of noodling on putting together an anti-Carl plan in his head.
It's almost used exclusively for it, but there is a very rudimentary training droid for lightsaber combat.
Then yeah, that.
I'm thinking while Koba's on the surgical bench and the FX droid is attaching the new foot/lower leg, I'm thinking that the droid would have given Koba something to dull the anxiety of having a droid work on him. It's a pretty big thing, so I'm figuring that either Koba would be passed out or would be a little swimmingly.
Sure.
And while that is going on, Koba feels another chill going through, and this time, as Koba's feeling a vision set in, he's now standing back on Felucia in a really small out-of-the-way village. There's at most 100 beings here. It looks like they do mushroom farming, since it's Felucia with the giant mushrooms that really double as trees. Here, Koba sees a young adult woman that Koba actually recognizes. Koba's recognizing the being that he initially got on the bus to go and find, way back when. That Koba was brought there because he was looking for a missing person. Then, on Felucia, from the looks of the trees, not too far from where the tour had gone, where Shags and Scoob would take them, this village that was half village, half commune, out in the middle of Felucia, to the outside of it, this curved-wing TIE fighter comes and lands. Its solar panels folding in, and out from the top, Carl appears and is looking around, coming over to the young woman. They start talking, and it's at this point where Koba's able to attempt to get a little bit closer.
Yeah, let's go snoop.
Could I get a 1 red, 1 purple sneak? Or stealth, or what have you? Guess I use another point because so many points.
The spice must flow.
2 failures, 2 advantage.
So you get in closer, and you can hear Carl asking, "Excuse me, I've heard that you've decided to somewhat recently come to this village, and you decided to leave your family and come here somewhat unexpectedly. Is that the case?"
Oh yes. I heard about this village, and it seemed like the place that would be more for me. Being from Malastare, it's such a busy place, such a fast-paced place, that I just could not... It wasn't for me. Here, it's so refreshing. Even when we're out harvesting mushrooms, it's much more something that I do.
Did you let anyone know that you were coming out here? Was there someone that you had met that pushed you out here?
Oh no, I saw a hollow pamphlet, and this seemed like the best place. I was at a crossroads and had just lost my job. I had almost nothing to tie me down. So I was able to scrabble together enough credits for the ship, and here I came.
Oh. In your travels, have you ever seen this being? And Carl holds out a palm hollow display thing, and a actually relatively decent likeness of Koba starts spinning around from like the shoulders up. The young woman is looking at that, and then starting to look something in the distance, and back, and
until now, no, I hadn't. But, I think that they're over...
And she starts pointing at where Koba is currently viewing things from. This young woman somehow is seeing Koba.
I assume because light is bouncing off of Koba and into her eyes directly. Koba will reach for whatever weapon might be on his person in this vision, whether it's the stuff that he would have had back then, whether it's like the lightsabers that he now has.
The lightsabers, I think Koba still has the fiber. Yeah, any of those would still be available.
Yeah, I mean, he'll reach for whatever he can get, and if Vibro-Rang, then throw at Carl.
Vibro-Rang is absolutely there. And if you're throwing that, then can I get a... Carl is a 3, so yeah, it'll be a 2 red range light check, please.
1 success, 1 threat.
I'm going to go with that this is too surprising for Carl to have any sort of reflect and whatnot. How much damage does a Vibro-Rang do?
Not much. That'll be 5 damage, pierce 2.
Okay. Funnily enough, that actually would do damage to him, so...
Yeah, I mean, pierce 2 is nothing to sneeze at, but
exactly.
It's not a hugely damaging weapon.
In the vision, it looks like Carl does get hit. His shoulder rolls back, and he looks at Koba. You again. I'm getting closer. He reaches out with his... I'm figuring that the Vibro-Rang went into his right shoulder, so he's reaching out with his left hand, and looks like the snap and crackle of force lightning is starting to happen on his arm. Just as it does, the vision itself dissipates, and the FX droid, L2-6, they're an FX droid, they don't really lean, but the surgical light dims. There you go. The foot is going to be a bit numb for the first little while, but it should allow for you to have as much dexterity as you used to have in your organic leg. It will take a little bit for you to get used to, but after a short period of adjustment, you should barely realize that it isn't your original limb.
Is it a bare cybernetic, or does it have like synth flesh on it?
Yeah, actually I'll go with it has synth flesh on it.
Okay. Koba raises it and flexes the digits, testing out how it feels. It'll have to do. It's going to hop off of the table. He'll test how well the new foot is gripping one of the new lightsabers, and upon finding it's good enough, and with the vision of Carl still fresh in his mind, he's got more practice to do.
What is Skip getting up to in this downtime?
All right. So, first I have a question.
Yep.
Please remind me, just went back in my notes, the plant that I stole that you said had medicinal properties is called Colto, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Okay. So what Skip is focusing on is being prepared. So you will notice that they have taken over a section of these, temporary living quarters that you're staying in, where they have hung and they're drying out just large strips of these crickets and fungus to make, travel jerky for all of us. They're organizing their large satchel and the bag that Hillary gave them, rolling up bandages and mashing up some of the colto that they swiped into a paste for medicinal purposes, asking Hillary's advice on that sort of thing. And after they think that they've gone around and found enough supplies and things that won't be missed, and have prepped their bag enough for whatever the road may take them ahead, they're going to ask Kesh and Koba for some melee combat training. So it's just mega Skip disaster prepper mode.
Yeah, sure. I would appreciate a sparring partner anyway. Perhaps it would be best to start off with some training instruments, though, before using these. Don't want anybody else to lose a limb, after all. There's plenty of that going on with us. I would imagine there might be, maybe if there's not like training sabers, given the age of this facility, maybe there's some like wooden practice swords or something like that?
Absolutely.
Cash will try to find like the stoutest one she can, something to kind of represent more of an axe.
Okay.
She'll teach the best she can. She's never really been much of an axe user herself, but she would be familiar with wielding like vibro swords and machetes and things of that nature. Try to get an idea of that like big, powerful swings, and sort of focus more on the bronze side of the arrangement. And then I imagine what Koba would have a very different fighting style and different things to emphasize.
Yeah.
So yeah, training montage. I think just as we're like transitioning over to Cash, that'll also be an opportunity for her to practice parrying blows more than she has been, making use of that new talent of hers. Besides helping out with that, and probably pretty much daily talks with most, if not everybody, Kesh, the first few days, will spend a lot of time actually back in the room with the crystalline tree, continuing to talk to it like she did before, as she's generally organizing her thoughts and such. And after the first few days, when her injuries are feeling a lot less, it's apparent we are safe here for the moment, she'll seek out, I'm guessing actually skip again, let's see, do you have the holocron on you still?
Yeah, sure do.
Would you mind if I borrowed him?
Yeah, no problem. I definitely have it. I definitely never at any point dropped it in the water and had to go back the next day and look for it. It is absolutely right here. Here you go. It's not soggy. It's fine.
Thank you. Kesh takes it. I actually think she might even take the holocron back to the chamber with the crystalline tree when she goes to open it. I think we have a shot as the pieces begin to separate and it begins to float in the air, where a concerning amount of water falls out of the inside of the holocron.
There's a quiet splash.
Yeah. And Cash just closes her eyes for a moment, doesn't comment on it, and then we'll open them again as Ward starts to appear.
The foot-tall hologram appears on top of the reconstituted holocron. Hello there, Padawan. Padawan Kesh, I believe. It is pleasant to see you again. Are you here to continue your training in the ways of seeing the future?
Yes, if you know more than you did, I thought I had mastered those lessons.
Yes, it appears that Ward, during his time on Jorah, was able to refine his techniques and entrust them to this crystal. There are many things that we can do. If you'll meditate and work with my directions, I believe we can let you see things much more clearly, as well as perhaps even more effectively.
Yes, I would like that. So you've been able to incorporate the new memories and information without a problem? I know there was some concern about that last time we spoke.
Well, these memories are disturbing, and I find it hard to believe that Ward himself was the one who put these memories into this crystal. It undeniably is. It seems that by the end of his time on Jorah, he had fallen so far that he no longer trusted the Jedi Order. He was willing to abandon his post that he had been entrusted with. It turned into something that he was scared. He was angry and scared, which is something that, until being exposed to these memories, I never would have considered for Ward. It undeniably is a crystal from him. What I've experienced with these memories is something is very confusing, because I recall them such as memories, but they are not integral to me. The little flecks of general knowledge that I have makes it sound very similar to a cybernetic implant. One of the memory expanding ones.
So you have access to them without them affecting your beliefs or perceptions.
Yes. The actions of Ward, especially the actions towards the end of the Jorah campaign, is detestable. There had to have been another way.
So then I don't suppose you'd have any insights into where he would have gone from there.
It is surprising to me, but it does appear that he was trying to find the root of the power he was utilizing. That the power was so immediate. The calling he was getting from the Force, it was calling him to a dark, dark planet. Moribund is what he was calling it.
I've seen an image of that planet. Giant statues, lots of red light.
That is more information than what this holocron contains. Beyond the name from the memory, this holocron contains no information of it.
So no coordinates, then?
Sadly not. Beyond finding a hyperspace ring, I do not have any concrete destinations.
Well, then we'll have to look elsewhere for that. Why don't you go ahead and access those lessons on the foresight?
Absolutely. Now, if you will begin your meditation with me. As Kesh starts the meditation, I do want to get a force roll from Kesh.
Okay. 3 light side pips and 1 dark side.
As Kesh starts to slip into the meditation, the words that the holocron is saying start to fade away relatively quickly. That the directions are there, but Kesh is having to fight really, really hard to maintain them. As Kesh is fighting to follow the words of the holocron, what sort of pose does Kesh meditate in?
It's a little hard for her to get back up off the ground, so I think she'll continue to sit on the bench. She'll plant her clawed feet flat against the cave floor, sort of grounding herself to her environment, to the world around her. The lightsaber cane set off to the side, and she'll have her claws on her lap, palms facing up, while she closes her eyes and adopts a more rigid posture.
Kesh is starting out in a very contained, very underwater. The air is fairly humid, so probably not exactly an environment Kesh is super loving. Then, with a almost blink, it changes to being warmer. The air itself seems to have dried out completely from one breath to the next. And there's a little bit of a wind whistling as it flows over some rock formations. Kesh's eyes are still closed.
When the temperature feels different, she's going to go ahead and open them. Because, as memory serves, this isn't her first vision in this place.
As your eyes open, you're seeing red sand on the ground. And as you look up a little bit, you see a black onyx throne that is there. Looks to have been carved from a single vein of onyx. It looks very Palpatine-esque, but also made out of this dark crystal. And sitting in it is a smug-looking old human. Long beard, the tatters of a Jedi robe on, but none of the underlying tunic, at least above the sash. Super toned, bare chest. I was wondering when a Padawan would find their way here.
Sojo, I presume?
That is a name I haven't heard in a long time. But yes.
So, this is Moraban?
That is one of the names for this planet. It is a planet of 1,000 names. It is a place where ills of the galaxy are said to have been formed.
She looks over her shoulder at the red, sand dunes and remarks, not exactly the place I would pick for retirement, but...
In these ashes and in these pebbles, what it lacks in aesthetics, you find power. And here, power comes with every single step that you take.
But what good is power if you aren't free to use it? You've been hiding away on this world a long time.
I have been waiting for the signs that I had seen to come true. A moon exploding, a planet behind it, an empire rising. It is... At the time before things came to pass, they drove me mad. Now, I see and I understand just that little bit more. The context for the flashes, the whys and wheres. And now it is time for me to act. Now that I've seen that someone is on the path.
So, are you going to wait for us?
I shall wait, for I am waiting for an apprentice. This meeting is both an interview for you and I, but also a portent on the road. Either you or another shall become the apprentice of mine, and we shall move out into the galaxy.
Yeah, I've seen how you've treated your past apprentice. And waiting for a vision to come true, it hasn't exactly convinced me that you have anything to teach.
That is the fun of seeing the future. When you can see things in a high granularity, then you know exactly when it is to act to the greatest benefit. The tide that was the Empire was not one that I could easily overcome. I didn't even see what it truly was. But now I can see the glimmer of it retreating and the ability for me to help shape what comes after. Shape into the image of what I want. What these people don't even understand that they need.
And what's that?
Control.
They already have control. What do you think the Empire is doing?
But not seeing control. The Empire's rules. The Empire's fears. But with someone like me and my new apprentice, we should be able to see the future and help shape it into a way that makes everyone needed. And not just ground.
Everyone with a purpose.
Yes.
Kesh looks contemplative for a moment. Well, we will be heading your way soon. I don't suppose you have the coordinates to where you're at memorized.
After entering them into the Navicomp, regretfully, I do not remember that from such long ago.
So you don't have a ship anymore, do you?
Don't I? And he'll twist his head a little bit with a mocking glare. He will fling his right hand. The sleeve catches the wind a little bit, and it's like he's flinging a small dust devil.
Mm-hmm.
The dust devil approaches a small dune, waits over it for a few moments as his Edda starfighter is revealed from the sand flying away into the wind.
Kesh nods. Well, then, I guess we'll see if you wait.
We'll see if you're able to do your part.
And then, before he can start prying into her, I think Kesh is going to try to end this little vision.
In that case, can I get a 1 red, 1 purple, 1 setback discipline check?
Okay. My discipline is 3 yellow and a green. So, let's go. No, failure, but 3 advantages. So, Kesh tries to disconnect, and, Ward has more control over this vision than she does.
Ward starts stalking towards Kesh. Ward starts by rising up out of his throne. Step, 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 and as that's happening, his eyes go from a fairly old pale brown, and the color drains from his eyes, and black smokes in to the sclera. His irises start off like just bleached white and slowly darken like it's around a smoker going yellow, then turning brighter and brighter yellow as it seems to focus in, and little flecks off of his hair start sparking.
Kesh will stand up, and when the sparks begin to happen, more on reflex than anything, she's going to start to raise a protect shield.
That sounds cool.
Should I roll for it?
I'm gonna go with no. I'm figuring that it's going to wrap around Kesh fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a reason why it wouldn't, especially in the vision. Ward is looking at you. The power that's starting to come off of him is hitting you in waves. He looks deep into you with that gaze. What will your part be in the new order? And with his left hand, like while holding his lightsaber, pulls out his blade, and you can see that it has shifted to red, and he holds it towards you. You may come. I may still be here, but know that you will not be able to leave, not without my permission. And then flicks his wrist, almost as if he was going to throw the saber, but it then sort of flows over as if a dust devil was thrown directly at Kesh, kicking Kesh out of the vision.
So, from Hollow Ward's perspective, Kesh kind of wakes with a start, like a kid who fell asleep in class.
Mm-hmm.
She blinks rapidly, looks at Hollow Ward, frowns, and then closes her eyes for a moment. And I don't know where this is gonna lead, but I would like to try to seek Shoujo Ward.
Okay.
Because there's technically no distance on it, but it would be insight into the general location.
That sounds cool.
Not super great, but I rolled 2 dark side pips and 2 light side, and it requires 2 to activate the power, so she'll get something but doesn't have any extras for questions or details.
Fair enough. What you get is figuring 2 things happen. The first thing that happens is Kesh's vision goes into that sort of astral projection out of body we've been using, where immediately jumps forward and very quickly it goes through the relatively small Jedi library that's here. It smashes through walls to do this, doing the camera trick of floop through the wall, floop through another wall, and then through the floor to get down to another level. And you see, in this case, they aren't all on. The lights for the holo tablets and whatnot aren't on, but you can see a 12-foot high library with an entire side of Jedi holo cubes. Whatever it is, it doesn't trip the lighting to turn on, but you very easily do get a vision of it. And then it trips out, heading out into the nothingness of space, going through the kilometers of water that is above you, past the surface, out into space, and it goes through the vast emptiness, grazing over the surface of Felucia, going through the tunnels of Elam, and then finding this red planet that looks to have been blasted into glass and then crumbled into sand after. At that point, the vision dissipates and Kesh is released from the seeking that's there.
You know what, Hollow Ward, I think we need to continue this lesson another time. And then she'll go ahead and if he doesn't argue, she'll go ahead and shut the holocron.
Alright, yeah, no, he wouldn't argue. He's here to give information or not as people are able to comprehend and to take.
She'll take the holocron, stand up, and go in search of her companions. Maybe we have like a shot where the others were maybe gathered in a room, either like the training room or for a meal or something like that. And when Kesh walks in, she'll say, there's a library here. And I think the next piece of information we need might be there.
All right. Can you give us any more information?
Ward, the actual Ward, is on Moraban. We've talked vaguely about this before. Was a Sith planet, but we don't know the coordinates.
So we need to see if the library holds the coordinates, is that right?
Yes, or provides another way to get there. There's a few other things. I communicated with Ward. He's a bit power hungry at the moment. He's continued down the same path we saw in the recordings.
Shocking.
Well, he's been waiting for something, and he seems to think that that something is now. He has a starfighter there, but it's one of the old types, the kind that needed a hyperspace ring to travel. At the very least, we might be able to ensure Ward doesn't leave that planet. It might at least put things in on our terms.
Why not just let Ward and Carl kill each other?
Because Ward is looking for an apprentice, they might not kill each other. They might end up working together.
All right, well. Finding obscure information is kind of my thing, so let's hit the books. Libraries don't have books in them necessarily in this universe.
I don't know. It's a pretty library.
Let's hit the
Hollow
data cards.
Data cards. Yeah. That's the term. Thank you, Koba. Well, come on, I think I know how to get down there. Hopefully everything I went through were doors and not walls. She says, and will start to retrace the path of the seek as best as she could.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Heroes of the Hydian Way. You can find show updates on Twitter at The Hydian Way, and you can find me, Ben, on Twitter at Deuterium Ice.
You can find me, Christine, at 12th Night. That's 12th Night with a K.
And I'm Ace Picorito, ACEPIAKORITO.
I am Ren. Out of time.
I'm still Leslie, and I'm still at Leslie GS.
You did the sing-song thing again, Ren.
I knew it that time.
Okay.
There was awareness.
We are all at thehydianway.com, where you can find previous episodes.
You can find more episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Plus, you can help us out by rating, reviewing, and subscribing.
We're also on Facebook as The Hydian Way. You can also holocom us at heroes@thehydianway.com.
If you like what we do and want to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/thehydianway.
Or you can help us invest in a sat-nav for the galaxy at ko-fi.com/thehydianway.
This is all also to say, to justify whatever I'm going to do with my build after tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure what it is, but it's probably going to veer somewhere into the melee land, which I have no training in. So
Yeah, melee or the lightsaber skill.
right.
And there's a lot of specs that are geared around using a lightsaber. So if you decide you don't want to rely on your brawn, but would rather rely on another characteristic, there's literally one spec for each of them.
My brawn and my agility are equal, so.
Okay, so then, that'll be up to you then, what direction you want to take Skip. Sky's the limit. Whatever you think will fit their fighting style the best.
The Dust Devil approaches a small dune on account of it isn't a giant dune.